this is for Jefferson Parish and included in St. Charles, but it's right near Lafitte here that we're seeing our warning. You can see that little hook that shows up, and that's an indication of where you'd be seeing that storm. So really moving right between Jean Lafitte and Lafitte here. So down in the southern part of Jefferson Parish, but moving to the east and northeast. So this is the area that we're going to need to pay very close attention to. I'm going to step off so we can do a little analysis here with Viper and show you exactly what's going on with this storm as we get over and show you the big picture. We've had quite a bit of rain around earlier in the day, and that's where we've seen these lines coming together. And this is the area where we're seeing that tornado warning right now. As we're already at pause, and I want to go ahead and take a look at our relative velocity. And we always tell you about the areas where you see the red and the green close together. And this is really impressive view here as we're looking at it pushing past the Lafitte area. So this is the area that you want to watch. If you are in this area of Jefferson Parish, southern Jefferson Parish, you really want to be in your safe place right now. Remember, that is the room with as many walls between you and the outside as you can get on the lowest floor. So that's the area we want to be really paying close attention to right now as this moves on past the region. We got this tornado warning in just a few minutes ago as we've been watching these storms. And, you know, we had a line move through last night. We talked about seeing some of these stronger storms around and pushing in with the storm. Not a lot of activity with this today. It's been mostly lightning and thunder, but we got one that really did manage to get into the spin here. And a lot of times this will happen close to the coastline, especially where you can see that storm coming together. And we have pretty impressive inflow. So that's a region to really watch for. You have to be on alert here. If you are in southern Jefferson Parish and then moving into Plaquemine, this is going to be an area to watch as well. You can see here just around the Alliance area, that storm is moving almost due east. And that's what we're going to be on the watch for here for areas that may be seeing some of those strong winds and damaging. And this is a tornado warning for southern Jefferson and moving all the way across the area, everything highlighted in the pink, including in that warned area. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get our skits on here and give you a little bit better idea of some of the areas that we're going to be on the watch for in the next few minutes that will be dealing with this storm through Jesuit Bend area about 9:46. We're seeing a BTI, and that's the number I'm going to point out to you, where it shows you that BTI of 4.6. That's an indication that we are likely seeing some rotation that may be making it down to the ground. Hopefully, this maybe stays a little bit more over some unpopulated areas, but where that circle is showing up, we do have some houses, and then you get down around into some of the areas close to the marshes, some camps. So we definitely want to continue to keep in watch here as we go through this warning over the next several minutes. So definitely been watching these storms throughout the morning. This one is the first one that's really gone from being the heavy rainmaker into one that's a little bit stronger and into the severe level. And where you see that area where there's not a lot of rain in there, that's an indication to say, okay, this is a pretty strong one and that we need to keep an eye on it. And notice that BTI number is coming up. So that's an indication that, yes, you're more than likely actually seeing more than just a radar indicated tornado, but this could likely be a tornado that's causing some damage on the ground. So I want to clear some of this out of here so that you can see a little bit better where the actual storm is again. And this warning is going to remain in effect for the next several minutes as this is continuing to move through the Lafitte area and pushing towards Plaquemine Parish as we put everything back into motion. This is your typical radar view here. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit so that we can get a closer, tighter view on where we would be seeing the strongest part of this storm right now, pushing south of Barataria, John Lafitte, just between almost kind of shooting that gap between Lafitte and John Lafitte, and that's where that particular warning is right now. And we're seeing the update on that. I'm going to widen out, and we'll check out the rest of the area and see where we're seeing some of these other storms that have developed, and they've moved more off through St. Bernard Parish that's pushing along. Not as much activity back here to the west, so we're focusing just on this area, again, that's highlighted in the pink. That's going to be the area that we are keeping the closest watch on and where we have that tornado warning right now as we're seeing a storm move across southern Jefferson Parish into Plaquemine as we get on through the morning. So to clear this out for you, just so we can get a clearer view of the screen and walk over and check exactly the update on this from the Weather Service. And what the Weather Service is giving us, it's saying it's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Lafitte, about 12 miles southeast of Belle Chase, and moving east at 20 miles per hour. So again, if you are in those areas, southern Jefferson, down around Lafitte, and then moving towards Plaquemines Parish, that is where that storm is. If you're in the Metairie area, if you're in Kenner, if you're in northern Jefferson near the lake, this is not your storm. This is not the area that is being threatened by this particular tornado warning right now. Again, it's that southern Jefferson area and then moving into central Plaquemines, south of Belle Chase, that we're looking at as this continues to move on by. Lots of lightning with this, a good inflow. That indication to say, okay, likely we would be seeing an actual tornado with this. This is why the Weather Service has gone ahead and putting that warning in place. And this is all, again, moving to the east, about 20 miles per hour. So moving very quickly here as we continue on. I'm going to do a little bit more analysis on this, and we'll get another look. When we looked at our velocities, and remember we talk about the reds and the greens being close to each other, and like to put that on a pause. That red and green area, this is what we're looking at right there, that's where your tornado would be. So this is very likely that we actually are seeing a storm that might have some damage happening with it as it moves through Lafitte. This area, unfortunately, so affected by Ida, but some people have moved back. People have been doing work, so there are definitely folks that could be affected in this area. You want to be in your safe place right now if you are in that southern Jefferson area as well as central Plaquemines. Those are both areas we want to look at. I'm going to do another analysis. This is our debris analysis, and sometimes as you get away from the radar, it's a little bit harder to pick up on this, but generally, if you see an area of blue completely surrounded by the red, that would be the area to watch out for. Maybe right in here, what this would be telling us is that if there is any kind of debris that's getting kicked up with this storm, that it would be in that area where you've got the return that's showing up. But this is fairly distant from our radar. Remember, our radar is actually in the Slidell area. So the farther away from the radar, the higher up you would have to see the debris. So it doesn't show up sometimes as well. But that may be another little indication that we are seeing the stronger storm in there. So again, stay in your safe place if you're in these regions. And another reminder, again, if you are in the northern part of Jefferson Parish, if you are in the West Bank, if you are in Metairie, this is not for you. This is that lower West Bank area, southern towards John Lafitte. That's where we are seeing this action, and it's moving into Plaquemines Parish. And that's where we're going to have to see the watch again, as this is a tornado warning continuing on to the east, moving about 20 miles per hour. That's where the movement is going. And again, seeing a very prominent display here on radar that would say that we likely have a tornado within this storm. So we definitely need to be vigilant in that area, be in your safe place, most walls between you and the outside as possible. Another check here. Fortunately, we're not seeing a return on that debris, so that is a good news there. We'll check through here again. Still seeing that weak area. But again, I mentioned that's far away from the radar, but the velocity still strong, the red and green telling you again that this is where we're seeing the winds moving towards and away from the radar. That area of circulation would be the indication that's where our circulation of a tornado would be. And again, this is almost moving right through that region if you're going between Barataria and Lafitte, or John Lafitte and Lafitte. So that's the area where we would be looking for our tornado to watch. And again, you remember this is radar indicated. We're showing this in a couple of locations here. So if you're in this general area, you want to be in your safe place because we can see effects throughout that region. We could also be seeing some of the stronger winds with this storm continuing. A lot of lightning with this, which is another indication that we could be seeing that stronger storm higher up in the atmosphere. Those are all things to be on the watch for here. I'm going to check out our shear path. That gives you a clue where we've had those strong winds moving across, and it's really following right in line along where we've seen the circulation from this storm, and that is continuing again on as we make our way off to the east here, and this is going to be the area we're watching. So if you are in Plaquemines, if you're along the River Alliance area, you need to be in your safe place as this storm is headed your way, and we continue to see that warning in place here for the next several minutes. So bigger picture, most of the area is looking good. We don't see any other really strong storms in here. the vast majority of the really strong storms have moved offshore, and it's this one cell, and that's a lot of the times the way it is. You get that one storm that becomes stronger, that manages to see the rotation, and especially when you're dealing with the differences and the geography, the topography across areas where it's moving across the lakes, it's moving across the marsh, that can sometimes even help to get us that spin up. So that's what we're watching here. A little bit wider view shows you, again, metro area, you are not included in this. That's not where our warning is. The warning is as we head into that southern Jefferson area near Lafitte and then moving into Plaquemine. Those are the spots that we need to be most concerned with here with this tornado warning that now has been going on for about 10 minutes. And as we keep an eye on the radar, the strength of this radar has managed to really stay together here. So this came up at about 9:28, and we will continue to see that warning in place until 9:45. So we've got about 10 minutes left on this warning. Hopefully, you know, we are in this, if you're in this area, you are in your safe place. We're getting some, you know, checks and information in from the area to see if there have been any reports of damage. So hopefully the newsroom is checking in on that and seeing how things are going there. We'll do analysis once again, and boy, this is staying together. We're not seeing that red and green continuing to hold, which again tells you, okay, we are continuing to keep the strength of that circulation in, and there's likely a tornado continuing on the ground. Our warning continues for Jefferson and Plaquemines. That's going to be the update there as we continue on. And I'm going to check one more thing here on our radar as we continue through this warning for, again, another 10 minutes or so. Southern Jefferson and into Plaquemine, in your safe place. If you are near Lafitte, Alliance, pushing along through the Jesuit Bend area, this is where that storm is headed. And the radar really indicating that we have seen those areas with the strong winds along this region as well. So that all is coming together here for us. I'll put our skits back on. Again, pause it up for you so that you can see. And remember, I mentioned that BTI number before being an indication that takes in some of the wind speeds, some of the areas of the storm that the computer can see in here, and it gives it that Barron Tornado Index at 4.9. Likely that we are actually seeing a tornado with this. The good news is that there is quite a bit of rural area and marsh area in here. Unfortunately, there are also places where we are seeing homes, and we would also be seeing some homes and some camps in there. So we have to be on the watch for all of those regions. And if you live in these regions, if you're working in this region right now, definitely need to be in your safe place. We could see that storm affecting anywhere within really the northern end of this cone is where this system is kind of moving straight east, and that's where you'd more likely expect to see some of those effects. So, Kelsey, you were kind of making some motions to me over there. Do you guys have any information on any reports of eyewitnesses or anything like that?
I was following and just seeing, you know, because I know this is in Jefferson Parish. I was looking on Twitter, and their EOC is definitely warning people to take cover right now. And as you said, Nicandra, that, you know, this is supposed to last to 9:45. They reiterated that as well. But I mean, I guess we're just kind of waiting and seeing at this point.
Also checking, you know, with the school district. So far, nothing from the school district. I know parents might be getting these alerts at work, or they be watching at your desk right now. So far, not getting any updates from Jefferson Parish Schools via Twitter. We're checking our emails, too, just to stay on top of things. So far, nothing from either of those entities. But, of course, we're keeping a close watch on things. And we're, of course, going to keep you posted as we see information.
And as we've kind of seen, Nicandra, and listened to you talk this morning about the storms we saw overnight, a lot of these storms appear to be, as you said, they're moving quickly, and I guess that's a good thing in the eyes. I mean, right now you should be taking cover if you're in that area that we're looking at.
That's right. If you're in this region, you need to be in your safe place. This is where our warning is. The whole area highlighted in the pink, but really we're focusing in right in here where you see that notch. That's going to be where you're seeing that spin in, and that is really moving right across from the Lafitte area and then moving into parts of central Plaquemines Parish right now. So those are the areas where, again, you need to be in your safe place. What we look for on radar to determine, okay, this may have a tornado within it is, you know, look at this rotation. And as long as we have that red and green and it's continuing to show a very strong signature there, the red indicating away from the radar, the green indicating the wind's moving towards the radar, so that would tell you that there is a circulation in here. That is what's prompting the tornado warning, and this is continuing to push over to the east. So that's the area that we are continuing to watch. We've got several more minutes that we'll be watching this moving along, and really as long as this signature, as long as this picture is showing up for us, this is going to keep us in that tornado warning until it really moves away from any areas that might have any kind of population in here. So that warning is going to continue at least through the 9:45 that we have, and we'll be waiting for updates from the Weather Service on whether or not we're going to see this being extended as it moves along. It's moving about 20 miles per hour, but this is a pretty large region that it is moving through. It doesn't seem like it at times, but that's the area that we're watching, where that red and green is. So that tells you that's the area of rotation and where we might be seeing a tornado, if there is in fact one that's making its way down to the ground and causing some damage. We take you back to, this is what you more typically see on radar. And I'll go ahead and put in, it's still showing us those circles would indicate rotation, where that rotation might be. And I'll also get a check again on our computer analysis staying at the 4.9. So that again, an indication that there's likely a tornado that may be affecting the ground and causing some damage there. So that warning again continues until 9:45. Another thing to keep an eye on, and that just gives you a little bit of an indication of how strong the storm continues to be, is that we're seeing a lot of lightning in this particular cell. You look, we're pretty tight in. That's the only storm that we're keeping our eye on right now, and we've seen our lightning counter come up into the 80s, 85, 88. Okay. So this is all continuing on here through at least the next 5 minutes, and based on what we've been seeing on radar, I wouldn't be surprised if it does get extended a bit, because it looks like the circulation is still continuing to hold together as it makes its way towards Plaquemines Parish. I want to go ahead again and take the visual of where that circulation is, and we'll get another idea, just give you an idea of how this is moving along. We talk about, I talked about the circulation, it's shear rate. This tells you, okay, we've got spin. When you get these light greens and the reds really indicating, if you look at that area where you're seeing that deep burgundy just north of Alliance, that would say, okay, that is an area where winds are moving very quickly and very strongly in opposite directions. Take you back to the velocities. What this tells us is, okay, we've got winds moving the reds towards, or the reds away from the radar, the greens towards the radar, so that's the circulation. And then this path where it has found itself moving across past the Lafitte area and moving into the Plaquemines area, all indications that, yes, we still need to keep an eye out as we are monitoring this tornado warning for an actual tornado that could be causing problems on the ground. So this is what we're seeing here and why we're staying with you now as we continue to monitor this tornado warning for Southern Jefferson and Plaquemines parishes, both areas that are being affected right now by a storm that has a rating with strong shear, likely quite a bit of hail with this. Let's check out our hail and where we might have seen some hail. That area in purple is where we would have seen some hail.
Nicandra, I was going to tell you that the newsroom just talked to Joe Valiente out of Jefferson Parish. They've been talking to officials on the ground in Lafitte. They are seeing lots of heavy rain in the area, and the hail you mentioned, they are seeing that in Lafitte right now. So that is
no funnel. Right, they said at this point they haven't seen a funnel or a tornado at this point.
Right, just hail and heavy rain.
But obviously the potential is obviously right there. We're looking at it.
And that's it. You know, this is a different tool. We fortunately have had the use of it for the last, about 20 years here, when we switched to Doppler Radar and you could see where the particles within a storm were moving. Before then, it was just, oh, there's a little notch, that's likely going to be a tornado. So when we show you those reds and greens, I know that's something you're not particularly familiar with. You don't see it all the time, but that is a really good indication that there is circulation in the storm, and it may or may not be making it down to the ground. But when we start adding in some of those extra factors, again, when we start seeing the 4.1, 4.5, 4.9, that's when we say, okay, there's a likelihood that some of that is making it to the ground. And when there's a lot of rain, it's a lot harder to see a funnel. And you may notice, just if you look at the setup here, where you might likely see more people, we talk about around Phoenix, around Alliance, there's a barrier there. You see that barrier of where the heavy rainfall is. If you were looking from John Lafitte, even in parts of Lafitte, where the funnel might be, there would be a rain-wrapped barrier around it that would make it more difficult to see. So you just really want to stay in your safe place until this has moved to the east and moved back out over the marshes here on the east bank of the Mississippi through parts of Plaquemines Parish. And at that point, then we can kind of relax, or we see the circulation diminishing. Unfortunately, right now, looking at our radar here, we really don't see it diminishing just yet. And the Weather Service has, even though we're at 9:45, they have not given the all clear just yet on this warning.
Did have an update. We did again speak with Joe Valiente with the emergency center. They said the police chief on the ground in Lafitte, they've got a report and they're going to check it out right now, but they have gotten a report that at least one, I believe they said it was a trailer.
A camper
or a trailer has been lifted off of its foundation, and so they're going to check that out. So reports of damage coming in this area that we're again looking at on our screen, where this tornado warning is in effect. So obviously what they're seeing is a pretty severe storm. No sights yet of an actual tornado, but the heavy rain and the hail is getting reported. Definitely a reason to stay.
And the strong winds clearly.
That
camper's been possibly, knocked off its
Yeah,
balance.
and in this, our entire viewing area has not been a stranger to tornadoes over the past several months. So just another reason, and maybe it hasn't hit this area yet, but you definitely want to always take it so seriously. And as we're reaching the end of, it looks like we have reached the end of that tornado warning, but we don't always know that sometimes it gets prolonged. So we definitely don't want to give people the false sense of security just yet.
Yeah, and so I'm just checking again to see where the Weather Service is. If they're going to allow this to expire, and no, they are continuing it. Let's see. And we're going to make it now a severe thunderstorm warning. So we're dropping the tornado warning, but it's still a severe thunderstorm warning as this moves through parts of Plaquemines Parish. And what that says for you is they are saying, okay, we think the circulation may have diminished a bit, but there's still the possibility that this could spark up a tornado. So we want you to stay vigilant. And in addition, we also are still experiencing those winds above the 65-mile-per-hour mark and the hail. So all things that if you are in Plaquemine, go ahead. If you're in this region of Plaquemine, not Belle Chase, but if you go south of Belle Chase and the north of Point LaHash, stay in your safe place as this continues to move on. Jefferson Parish, you are seeing the strongest part of the storm move past you. The severe thunderstorm warning is for Plaquemines Parish. We're going to continue to monitor and update you with any information we get about any kind of damage. And in the meantime, again, if you are in this region, stay in your safe place just for precaution, as this is still a severe thunderstorm warning, and a severe thunderstorm can spawn a tornado very quickly. But the Weather Service is saying, okay, we're going to drop that warning as it looks like the circulation is a little bit weaker. So I'm going to kick it on over to you guys.